Let's talk about some of these hot topics today that we're following. So Joe Biden and his family embarrasses the nation during a trip to Ireland. Joe stumbled, bumbled, fumbled his way through speeches, made embarrassing gaffes. It was so bad his son Hunter had to save him. He told stories that were debunked. He told the same old stories that we know are false, said the same old comments, don't jump, come on, man, no joke. I mean, the guy is a mess. He's a mess. While he was gone, the Pentagon leak suspect arrested a 24-year-old in the state of Massachusetts. All kinds of sensitive information released onto gaming platforms, supposedly to try to impress others. My question is, they were so quick to get this leaker with the help of the New York Times. Very suspicious. So where is the Dobbs decision leaker? Where are the January 6 pipe bombers? Why is it taking so long to get that individual behind bars? Why are we waiting so long for justice with the Hunter Biden laptop? Where are the investigations into the Biden crime family? It seems like some investigations are handled very quickly, others not so much. President Trump had to go to New York City for another deposition. The abuse and harassment of that man is never ending. 7 hours he sat before a very hardcore leftist attorney general there, Letitia James. And this was, again, unfair, unwarranted. President Trump released a new video on restoring justice in our country. I think it's right on target. It's what we need to do. There is no justice in our country. Justice is dead. Journalism is dead. We need to restore that in the next presidency. Speaking of presidencies, of course, Donald Trump, the leading GOP contender, but some people have jumped into the race. Tim Scott, senator from the great state of South Carolina, is in there. But Mike Pompeo, former Trump Secretary of State, decided not to run. Here's a problem for all of these folks, whether it be Nikki Haley or Mike Pence or Ron DeSantis or Tim Scott or Vivek Ramaswamy or whoever it is. Donald Trump is ahead by 30, 40 points. It's going to be hard for any of them to dislodge him from that top position. Folks, I like my gasoline-powered vehicle. I don't know whether you do or not, but it seems like the Biden administration is pushing new emission rules to make it almost impossible to buy a gasoline-powered vehicle by the year 2032. They're forcing these EVs down our throats. They don't care whether the batteries are made in China. They don't care whether there are not enough charging stations. They don't care whether we don't know what to do with these batteries and recycling them. They don't care that the range is not as great as gasoline-powered vehicles. They don't care that these minerals are mined in places where they have child enslaved labor. They don't care. They just want to push this green climate change agenda. The consequences be damned. These people are obsessed. They're sick. They're crazy. And it takes away our freedom. We should have the freedom to buy whatever vehicle we want. And the Biden administration is saying no. Hey, kudos to Elon Musk. He tweeted out that any parent or doctor who sterilizes a child should go to prison for life. And there should be no gender transition surgeries. None of these puberty blockers, none of these types of medications or surgery for any child that is under the age of adulthood until they can make their own decision legally, until they're an adult. None of this should be done. And as Musk says, any parent or doctor who does that should be imprisoned. And I agree with him completely. Folks, we need to protect our children. It's not being done. And this is one of the biggest issues in our country today. And finally, Bud Light is trying to recover from one of the biggest debacles in corporate America history, affiliating with a transgender individual, Dylan Mulvaney, really ignoring, abusing, and condemning the base of their customers, those who have been loyal to them for decades. Your blue-collar worker, your average American was offended by this affiliation. They don't care. Well, after $6 billion in losses, they decided that they do care. And they tried to make a half-hearted apology, saying they didn't want to be involved in any political division. Well, they were, because they affiliated with someone who's maybe the most well-known transgender activist in the country. And they made a special commemorative can for that person. That didn't sit well with Americans. We'll see if Americans will eventually forgive Bud Light. But the biggest corporate mistake that I've seen in years, you don't neglect your customers, you don't turn your back on those who buy your product.